what exactly happened to Night City after its founder was killed, as it did have an interesting and very important impact on what would become the norm in the new Night City post the death of Richard Knight. I promise you probably don't know anything about this lore, so just hear me out. We've covered a decent amount of history regarding Night City so far, but what exactly happened after the death of Richard Knight, the founder of Night City, the man who was meant to construct a utopia basically? Well, during the years 1998 and 2005, it pretty much summed up the impact of his death and what happened. Because of public outcry regarding his assassination and his opposition to crime syndicates, it kept Night City relatively calm for the time being. Eventually, his wife Miriam Knight restructured his company and founded Knight's Foundation, which would eventually become the Knight Corporation, and it was meant to fulfill her husband's dreams of what Night City was originally going to be. It did become a bit chaotic considering that Night City was basically up for grabs at this point. You had the mob bosses and basically every other organization that was trying to control Night City start actively fighting over who was going to get what. At one point, there was an entire combat zone between 1998 and 2000 where the corporations and organized crime syndicates decided to divvy up the city's resources, which actually ended up making the NCPD completely ineffective, not that much different from 2077. Majority of the gangs began to settle in south of central Night City, and we can even see this in the map based on what happens in the actual game and what's there. And they became so stuck there that they basically had to demolish the entire area and start from scratch. However, because it was such a massive undertaking, no corporation decided to follow through. And then the city eventually just ended up becoming divided by corporations controlling the corporate center, while everything else was basically taken over by the mob. These were the main impacts of Richard Knight's death, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments down below about his impact. And if you aren't already, be sure you're following and subscribed on all platforms.